loves. I'm Caroline Rena. I am on the ride of my life, and I keep discovering more and more new things about myself. And gotta have a bad hair day again. Okay. Anyway, so I have been talking a lot lately about being highly sensitive. And I wanted to share with you 5 signs that you may be a highly sensitive person. And I would suggest that you pay close attention, because for me, my entire life, I thought there was something wrong with me. And when I finally realized that it was this high sensitivity, it wasn't about being something wrong with me. It was about discovering what was right with me. And all of the things that I was told throughout my life involve things like, why are you so dramatic and why are you so touchy? Here are 5 signs that you may be a highly sensitive person. I decided to put this together because it's taken me a long time to come to the realization that I am an incredible human being who is also highly sensitive. And for my entire life, I thought there was something wrong with me. So what I'm going to share with you in this video are some things that will help guide you through this, if that's what you're finding out you are. So, number 1, you are extremely empathetic. There is proof, scientific proof, that highly sensitive people actually have more active mirror neurons, which are responsible for understanding other people's emotions. Now, if you don't know what mirror neurons are, basically what that is if you've ever had someone sitting in front of you and they started yawning and then you started yawning, that is a mirror neuron. Some beneficial aspects of being extremely empathetic include being good at communication, conflict resolution, inspiring others to take action. These are all some incredible things. And I happen to have found myself to always have been good at that. I just didn't believe it about myself. And on the other side of the coin, some adverse aspects, we have a tendency to slip into people pleasing and putting others' needs before our own. So I'm going to tell a short little story about myself in this respect. I can tell if someone is going through something. And what's interesting is I've been doing this my entire life. I'll feel it. I'll see it in their body language. I can see it in their facial expressions. And sometimes that other person doesn't even know what's going on. And so I've always asked people, are you okay? Is everything okay with, whatever? And they're like, well, how did you know there was something wrong? And I was like, sometimes I say, well, you just look like there was something going on. And some people were open to it, and then they would immediately start sharing what was going on with them, to get through whatever that was. And then some people were like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with me, and don't you imply that there's something wrong with me. And so the people who did that kind of scared that out of me to stop, or at least take a look at it differently. So I went through this process to learn how to distinguish who I could talk to and who I could share things with that I'm gathering information on, so to speak. So that is being extremely empathetic. And number 2, people will say to you, don't take things so personally. And I never understood what that meant, but what happens with highly sensitive people is we react more strongly in certain situations. So you might wonder why you're affected so deeply by the world around you, where other people can easily brush things off. And when this happens, you may feel like there's something wrong with you, and you could in fact spend years of your life denying your gifts and strengths. And I know what that's like, so I'm going to share a story about that real quick. It's taking me an entire lifetime to recognize the truth of who I am as an HSP. I have for years witnessed animals and people who were physically or emotionally hurt or in pain and could literally feel that pain in my body. I mean, my heart would just hurt for them. I could feel this energy just kind of and it was painful for me until I started healing my nervous system, and now I can just respond to that pain rather than like clench from the pain. So it's gotten a lot easier for me doing my own healing work. And there are ways of getting through. And so that is where people will tell you to not take things personally. It's not easy when you don't understand yourself as a highly sensitive person, how to walk through something like that. Number 3, you are detail oriented. Oh my gosh. I'm like, wow, to the nth degree, organized, everything. We're really, really good at picking up on particulars in situations and noticing the smallest, tiniest changes. And so this can be a positive trait in a lot of circumstances. You can be very in tune with others' likes, their dislikes, their preferences. You have a memory for that. It can make you a great friend and ally for people. And then there's the other side where you can turn your thoroughness into perfectionism if you don't learn how to manage this. Okay, so my story. Everything I did in my life was required for me to be perfect and in order. So some of this was so I could feel safe and in control, because my traumas had me feeling so out of control that I thought that I was going to die. It was so bad at one point that I lost it every time I didn't feel that safety. It practically took my whole life to get to the point where, as I learned to take consistent, committed, and perfect action, when I realized that it was okay to show up consistently and imperfectly, it pulled me in a space of freedom and safety, because I learned that the mistakes would help me grow. So in being detail oriented, I was able to step back from that. I was able to just allow things to happen and just do something and see what was happening. Like I'm doing it with this video. I'm telling you right now, there have been many takes in between on this video, and I'm okay with that. I'll cut some extra stuff out and I'm okay. And it's gotten a lot easier for me to do this. Number 4, you tend to notice what others miss. I'm talking about something like water dripping behind a wall, or the nails of your pet tapping on the floor when they walk. Most people who are not HSPs would not even consider that. It goes right through them. It doesn't even come into their awareness. HSPs are so highly tuned into and process noise and chaos and other external stimuli so profoundly that what would be an inconvenience or go completely unnoticed by a non-HSP is a major annoyance to an HSP. And here's my story with this one, and it's always been a rough one for me. No matter where I am, even the library, and it's pretty quiet in a library, the faintest noises would sound like a jackhammer to me. I would literally take my computer and all the crap I was carrying away from the spot that I was working in and move to a quieter spot. I also would be driving down the road and I would see hawks, or I would see, certain birds or certain things happening on the side of the road. And, I remember one day I was driving down the road. I had a friend of mine in the car and I was like, oh my gosh, did you see that hawk? And they're like, what are you talking about? Why am I the one who's able to see these things and nobody else does? So, and that's where HSPs tend to notice what other people would miss. And finally, number 5, your life is always about seeking meaning and purpose. It's been so important in my life. Highly sensitive people tend to be driven by innate factors like what's inside, like finding enjoyment in the work we do rather than being driven by things like money or prestige. Your work for you is more like a calling than a job for a paycheck. Here's my story. I had lost my self-esteem years ago. And when I started recognizing this, it brings up this whole, this whole pattern in my life. And I had been told all throughout my life what other people thought that I needed to be doing for my work. And that particular thing didn't faze me until I began to notice what a struggle it was to be doing something that felt misaligned for me, while at the same time having to put up with meaningless work. I didn't like it. It never made sense to me to grind out in a 9-to-5 job when I could be doing something in the world to help make it a better place and help others who feel similarly find their way too by healing their nervous system from trauma. And so when I started to recognize that about myself, the shifts began to happen and I started literally getting pulled away from jobs. Like I remember a couple of years ago, people kept saying, oh, you can't do this work. You need to make money. You need to get a job and you need to, do whatever. So I went out and I literally applied to a couple of 100 jobs and nobody answered. And I'm like, what the heck is happening here? So it felt to me like the universe was just saying, let's start looking in this direction. So that's what I did. And now I'm doing something that I love and I'm very grateful for it. Those are the 5 signs that you are a highly sensitive person. In being highly sensitive and having trauma, they both have to do with the nervous system. And these are things that have held me back in my life. And now, after doing the work on my nervous system, healing that as I go, I'm able to recognize how powerful I am and what I can accomplish. It's not been an easy task. It has been very profound and it has been changing my life. So if you've spent a lifetime confused and unhappy about how deeply you feel yours and others' emotions and pain, begin to look at how trauma in your life may be a contributing factor and find out ways to heal that. Also, think about ways you can use your traits, now that you know they're traits, as gifts and leverage them to use in your work. Learning what your HSP traits are and how they work is the first step in your healing journey. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that way we can get it spread out further to people. I'm glad you were here. Peace.